I'm going to go ahead and get started. Welcome everyone, and thank you for joining us today. We are so excited to have you be a part of this Homegrown Bay Area meeting of ours. My name's Robbie Brown, and I'm the Healthy Plate, Healthy Planet Program Manager for Actera. We're a San Francisco Bay Area nonprofit. I'd like to start today by taking a moment to reflect and acknowledge that I'm currently residing and presenting on the ancestral land of the Tami and Ohlone speaking people, and then ancestors of the Muwekma Ohlone tribe. If you are not aware of whose land you are on, I'd like to invite you guys to please visit native-land.ca to learn more. And while we're waiting for more people to join, we would like for you guys to please participate in our poll, which will launch in just a couple minutes, and to also share the information in the chat, your name, the organization you represent, the cities or counties you serve, and what barriers or hurdles you're currently experiencing in your work on food system change. So we'll give all of you a few minutes to input that information in the chat. I'll launch that poll in just a couple minutes as well, and then we'll officially get started. For those of you that just joined, please share some information about yourself in the chat. We would like to know your name, the organization that you represent, the cities or counties that you serve, and what barriers or hurdles you have experienced in your work on food system change. And we are going to launch our poll now. So essentially we're asking, what part of the food system are you working on changing? Oh, looks like there's an error with the poll. 1 second. Since we are having some issues with the poll in Zoom, I'm going to go ahead and just ask the question. If you could also put this in the chat as well, that would be great. So what part of the food system are you working to change? Is it food insecurity, sustainable ag, equitable access to healthy food, living wages for food workers, reducing food waste, urban ag, community gardens, whatever it may be? Please put that information in the chat. We would love to know. All right, right, we're getting some responses. So I see public education, food insecurity, equitable access to healthy food, sustainable ag, municipal food security, urban ag and soil health, local agriculture, climate smart agriculture. This is great. Reducing marketing and access to unhealthy food, regional food systems, growing diverse farm, cooperative enterprise owners, healthy checkout. Thank you everyone for sharing. Trauma-informed nutritional information. So before we move forward, there was a problem with the Zoom link that was sent out today. If you join this event and your name says Nicole Angel, we ask that you please rename yourself so that we know who you are. Thank you. All right, so let's go ahead and move forward. So our agenda for today, we're going to start with HomeGrown Bay Area's vision and priorities. And then at 12:35, we're going to talk about a summit for 2022 that we are currently planning. At 12:40, we'll talk about your role and how you can get involved. At 12:50, we have some time set aside for Q&A. Then at 1 o'clock, we have some time set aside for networking. And this is purely optional, but we hope that the majority of you can stay to get to know us. And then at 1:15, the meeting will officially conclude. So I'd like to now take this moment to hand the microphone over to Nicole Angel, Actera's Director of Programs, who will discuss HomeGrown Bay Area's visions and priorities.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for coming. I'm Nicole Angel, Director of Programs at Actera. So as you can see in these images, and you all know well, we're facing very big challenges related to our food system, and we're all working on different aspects of this. There are so many problems, and they're all interconnected, as you know. Large-scale industrial agriculture with a focus on monoculture and factory farming. Those play a major role in climate change, which is causing severe drought, devastating wildfires, and a host of other issues. Insufficient wages and poor working conditions for food workers throughout the food system, and the lack of access to nutritious food and food insecurity in lower income communities. Those are of course related too. We know that these food workers and lower income communities are primarily communities of color, and this is unjust. And often we're looking at these problems one or two or three at a time, but we can and must be working together and looking at this holistically. And so we've called you here today to talk about a vision for 2030 and how we can join forces to make this a reality. The vision is that in 2030, all local governments in the San Francisco Bay Area will have committed to policy, purchasing, and programming that ensures these four priorities: good food for all, local and sustainable farming practices, fair trade, and zero waste in our food system. We believe that healthy food is a right, not a luxury. Here in the Bay Area, we're able to grow a rainbow of fruits and vegetables year-round, and everyone should have access to this fresh, locally grown, nutritious whole food. Our diets should have very little processed foods, mainly be fruits and vegetables, legumes, and whole grains. This is what's healthiest for us and for our planet. Our hardworking local farmers, both rural and urban, are increasingly using environmentally sustainable methods, regenerative, organic, low water methods that restore and replenish the soil. Farming can be part of the solution to store and actually reduce rather than contributing greenhouse gas emissions. And supporting local agriculture also supports our local economy and our local communities. And everyone working to grow, to transport, to prepare our food from farm to fork deserves safe and healthy working conditions and fair living wages and benefits. Let's support them. Let's support our local economies and our local communities with equity and with justice. Wasted food is a crime. We can do better. We can get this food on people's plates where it belongs, where it's needed, and reduce the incredible amount of greenhouse gases generated by food sent to landfills. I'll now turn it over to JJ.
Hello, everyone. My name is Jared Johnson, but most folks just call me JJ. I'm Upterra's Senior Manager of Policy and External Relations. So excited to be with all of you today. And I just want to talk about how many local governments are already making big strides and seeing success in making their food systems more sustainable. For example, the City and County of San Francisco has introduced standards goals for food purchasing in hospitals and jails that promotes more sustainable, healthy, and animal-friendly meals. Specifically, the ordinance requires that hospitals alter their purchasing by 2023 to substitute at least 15% of animal products for plant-based options, and jails will be replacing at least 50% of their total volume of animal products with plant-based foods by 2024. Now, cash-strapped school districts that want to feed their students healthy meals often find themselves in a bind, but through a pilot program that served up less meat and cheese and puts higher quality meat, more beans, and more fresh produce on kids' plates, the school district in Oakland has shown that it's possible to get kids eating better food with a limited budget while reducing your carbon footprint at the same time. The Oakland Unified School District reduced their carbon footprint by 14%, water use by 6%, and saved $42,000 in 2 years by increasing plant-based food and reducing animal-derived food through instituting a Good Food Purchasing Program, or GFPP. A GFPP transforms the way public institutions purchase food by creating a transparent and equitable food system built on 5 core values: local economies, health, valued workforce, animal welfare, and environmental sustainability. This is also aligned with our vision. The Center for Good Food Purchasing provides a comprehensive set of tools, technical support, and verification systems to assist institutions in meeting their program goals and commitments. Additionally, Green Monday is a flexible and fun program that teaches people about the impact of their food choices, empowers them to eat more sustainably at the same time. Dr. Jennifer Millador, Senior Food Campaigner at the Center of Biological Diversity, published in their 2019 climate report that substituting one plant-based lunch could reduce a person's greenhouse gas emissions from that meal by 85%, habitat loss caused by that meal by 88%, and reduce water use by said meal by 57%. So if a lot of people make small changes to their diets, it has a huge collective impact. Green Mondays works with green teams, sustainable apartments, and motivated individuals to implement the program and offer support and resources that display data about your team's real-world impacts. This slide also has a logo of Vision 2025. And if you haven't heard of this initiative, Vision 2025 is a pledge to shift 50% of a city's food procurement to plant-based by 2025, along with forming an advisory body on creating a sustainable food system. Berkeley City Council actually has passed Vision 2025 last March, and El Cerrito Mayor Paul Fedeli has referred this pledge to their municipal climate change subcommittee chaired by Councilwoman Janet Abelson. The University of Michigan created a report studying the potential impacts of Vision 2025 and concluded that a plant-based shift could reduce up to 51% of US food emissions by 2030. Speaking of large-scale efforts, 14 global cities have also committed to the C40 Good Food Cities Declaration or Pledge in order to promote and preserve the health of their citizens and the health of the planet. Mayors will work with their citizens to achieve a planetary healthy diet for all by 2030 with balanced and nutritious food reflective of the culture, geography, and demography of their citizenry, as well as reducing food loss and waste by 50% from 2015 guidelines, or 2015 figures. The pledge will also demand that cities work with their citizens, businesses, and public institutions and other organizations to develop a joint strategy for implementing these measures and incorporating their strategies into their municipal climate action plans. So let's take these initiatives and many more Bay Area wide and show that a forward-thinking region can really create collective change. So to those ends, we're going to be working to convene local governments in anticipation for a summit on or around Earth Day next year. There's a lot of planning to do, and we're looking to get all of your input. Some of the things that we're looking to decide on right now are whether the summit should be virtual or hybrid, whether we want to have an event at multiple locations at a centralized one, and how do we hold these governments accountable and keep track of progress after the summit is over. So this is why we invited you all here today. We hope you all are willing to bring your expertise and your passion for building a just and sustainable Bay Area food system, because we need you to make the vision for 2030 and this summit a reality. We've created 5 different committees that will be kicking off today, and members of our steering committee are going to be sharing with you what each committee will be focusing on.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Laura Datar from Fresh Approach, and I'm working with the coalition to engage potential members and partner organizations and to ensure the coalition has diverse representation and creates opportunities for BIPOC members to lead. Nicole and I are really looking forward to working with you all and having this coalition grow. We've reached out to 170 different organizations so far and really hope that folks will join us in the future if they couldn't be here today. Please do everything you can to help us bring more voices to the table so we can advance an equitable and sustainable food system.
Okay. I'm Amy Halpern-Laff from Factory Farming Awareness Coalition, and I focus on policy and coalition building. The local government outreach committee will support you in working with your municipal and county governments to help them develop policies and programs around food procurement, food service, and food education. We work with local elected officials to help them achieve their own climate, public health, and equity goals. Government outreach, especially at the local level, is all about relationship building, learning what's important to your elected officials, and becoming a trusted resource. This also goes to the heart of our work at HomeGrown Bay Area. Thanks.
Hi, I'm Katie Cantrell. I'm the Director of Corporate Outreach for the Better Food Foundation, and I'm on the Summit Event Planning Committee, which will oversee the logistics and content of the actual event, including the agenda and presenters. This is an exciting opportunity because we'll be convening so many different stakeholders from local government, so we'll have a role in ensuring that they're getting really great information that motivates them to take action.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Nilang Gaur. I'm a founder of Cultivate Empathy for All. As many of you know, we have only 6 to 11 years of global carbon budget left before exceeding 1.5C goal, and UN has reported to cut 45% at our food system in the US, because the livestock production accounts for 94% of the nation's methane emissions from the agriculture sector. As a result, this committee is tasked with drafting an impactful declaration for the cities, towns, and counties that includes all 4 of the priorities areas in the vision. This committee will also develop a plan for post-summit check-in with the cities to confirm that declaration is being implemented in the local government. So I and Nicole are looking forward to having more folks join in and contribute towards planning the declaration and post-summit program. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Laura Cascada. I'm also with the Better Food Foundation, and I'm on the publicity committee along with Wendy Cho from Actera. And if you join our committee, basically our role is to spread the word about this initiative, to expand our reach and get more visibility for it. And there's kind of a dual purpose of that. One is that expanding visibility will encourage these local government actors to join forces with us and to be involved and make these changes that we're calling on them to do. And also, kind of simultaneously getting our message out there will help with culture shift and encouraging people to look in their own communities and how they can make these kinds of changes that we're calling for, and hopefully then join forces with us and just expand our coalition. So some of the activities that our subcommittee will be involved in is creating the messaging, making it into a digestible, easy, straightforward, soundbite kind of messaging that we can share with the public, creating materials and graphics that can be disseminated publicly, drafting press releases, and working on media strategy for every step along the way, including the big summit, and kind of coming up with materials and disseminating that with our other coalition members so that they can go to their social media and newsletters and get the word out and really amplify our reach. Thank you.
So, hi, this is Wendy Cho from Actera. I know we just threw a whirlwind of information at you all, but this is a great opportunity to stop and enter your questions in the chat, because we'd love to take this conversation in a direction that would benefit you all the most. So feel free to type those questions in the chat and I will try to direct them. Hopefully the sign up for committees has been updated and you can all access the link, and if you all have a second to do that, that would be great, or you can think it over. All right, so I'm gonna start off with this question from Sophie. Is the main purpose of this initiative to get electeds to attend the summit? So can I throw that to Nicole or JJ about the goals of having attendees at the summit?
Yeah, the goal is twofold, well, threefold really, to educate them about the issues and all of the great solutions available, to inspire them to take action and energize them and get them connected with others, and then to get them actually to commit and sign a declaration. And so those on the declarations committee will be working on formulating some really powerful language, some impactful tools, and setting up these declarations so that they can be signed and meaningful action can take place.
Yes, and just to add on that, one of the things as a steering committee we identified is the failings of some initiatives where you plan for an event, the event happens and things kind of drop off. So that's exactly what we're trying to avoid. We're both trying to help bring cities and elected officials into this process before the event, and then, as Nicole mentioned, create some strong language with the declaration committee about how to make commitments that we can hold them accountable to after the summit ends.
There's also a follow-up question, I guess a little bit of a nuanced question about whether electeds can be welcomed to join this coalition as themselves as an individual versus as the leader of a city. So is anyone willing to talk about that tension between an individual versus a larger organization or institution?
JJ, do you have thoughts around that? I mean, to me, I think it's open either way.
Yeah, like I think my thoughts around it is always welcome to have ideas. So if you just can't join with your city and really want to help out, that's definitely something we want. But we do encourage you to try to bring your city along with you.
Thank you. Another new question is about understanding the breadth of the ask. So are we envisioning this to be a more specific, programmatic kind of progress, or more general vision oriented? How broad can it be versus how specific will it be?
So something we've been talking about in the steering committee, and it will need to still be, ironed out in the declarations committee, is to have sort of a menu of choices for the cities and counties to consider, because trying to come up with a one-size-fits-all declaration may be really challenging and may be hard to convince certain local governments to commit to. And so if we are able to provide, choose one option from column A, B, C, and D, with the columns being the different priorities that we shared, that each column would have, 1, 2, maybe 3 choices of ways they can go about meeting that priority within the vision. And that we would offer some flexibility to encourage participation. And maybe it's step-by-step participation. Maybe it's, a certain goal by 2030 and then a more ambitious goal by 2035. All of that really is what we're counting on the expertise of this group to come up with and to make a really good case for and encourage sign on to.
We had a question from Marissa, and I might ask Marissa to unmute yourself to explain your question. The question is, have you reached out to CalCan to partner since they work on state and federal policies? And I don't know if Marissa, you'd like to elaborate on that anymore.
I just put a link into the chat. That's their primary goal. They do a lot of advocacy and work specifically on government education and work with farmers and ranchers primarily, but they're very active and they spend a lot of time in Sacramento and Washington. So I just put a link in there.
Thank you so much. Does anyone want to respond to that?
I have a question for Nicole. Tara, is Tara part of CalCan? We've been working with on AB 125.
I'm sure they have.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, they have a great newsletter and they keep people informed on all of the advocacy and the measures that are getting passed. I highly recommend reading that.
But if it is talking about the same folks, they may be focusing more on state level stuff right now. But I did reach out to some of them if we're talking about the same organization earlier. But taking another stab at reaching back out to them, seeing if there's a way to get them roped in, is definitely thought about. But I think we reached out to them a little earlier in the process. But great to point them out as an organization that we should be talking to.
Great, thank you. Moving on to a question from Berkeley Council member Sophie Hahn. She's mentioning that she is very equipped to be a kind of a liaison to other elected officials who, because she's from Berkeley and Berkeley has been a pioneer in this issue, she can pass on some of her expertise to other electeds that she is aware of. And that sort of brings up a question of A, is that a good route for her to pursue? And B, if there are things that people are able to do that aren't specifically mentioned in the committees, is there a way to add other tasks to the committee list?
Well, Wendy, as the, acting chair of the Outreach to Local Governments Committee, I absolutely would welcome Council Member Hahn's participation and assuming that role, because not only is she a Berkeley council member, but she has been a leading voice in the policies that the city of Berkeley has adopted. So for Council Member Hahn to help us with outreach to other local elected officials, I think would be fabulous. So thank you.
And I would also say that, Councilmember Hahn is a really good partner for Declaration Committee as well, that I'm a part of. And it would be wonderful to have coordination with the Councilmember Hahn in putting plan together and also develop a plan for a post-summit check-in with the local government as well. So that would be really ideal. So thank you so much, Councilmember Hahn, for offering that.
Great. And I see some movement in the chat also about state legislative activities, and perhaps there's some interest there in identifying people at the state level who are moving progressive food policy forward, such as SB 1000 mentioned by Theo. And then there is a new question from Rachel. Do you see committees as, I think that means including electeds and community-based organizations? So can somebody please clarify that?
The last part, yes, we definitely see the committees including electives and community-based organizations. Some electives, may really want to get involved, and sometimes we're working with electives to help influence other electives. So the line between whether electives are in the committee or people we're influencing is a line that's going to be crossed from time to time. And yes, we definitely want community-based organizations to be working with us in these committees. I also wanted to let folks know that I added one extra question to the survey. So you can say if there's another way you can contribute to the coalition, and allow folks to also edit their responses as well.
Thanks, JJ. That's great. Any other questions? Let's see. I'm going to scroll up since I apparently missed. Yes, I missed a question from Casey about increasing plant-based foods. So Casey is with the San Mateo Resource Conservation District. working with ranchers and vegetable and fruit producers on the San Mateo County coast. There's a lot of interest in implementing climate smart and healthy soil agricultural practices. Is there room in this initiative for meat producing ranchers who are making these strides? Can somebody please address the sort of more responsible meat angle?
Yes, definitely there is room, and we welcome and encourage and are excited to work with you on this. So absolutely.
Great. And I think I might have also overlooked this question from Tayo. I apologize if I'm not pronouncing your name correctly. Please chime in if I am not. Does this initiative have a geographic boundary for what we're defining as the Bay Area, and how do you define it?
Should I jump in? It's the 9 counties in the Bay Area, 101 cities.
Yep, all cities and towns in the 9-county Bay Area, exactly as mentioned.
We have another person supporting, Adria supporting the idea of climate smart ag. Thank you, Adria. And also we have a question from Rachel. Can somebody please comment on how food as medicine might relate to this initiative, Homegrown Bay Area?
Such a great point. Laura Datar, do you want to speak to that? Because I know that you work in that area as well.
Yeah, hi. I think there is a lot of opportunity for connecting to food as medicine initiatives, especially as those are really evolving within the Medi-Cal system through the CalAIM legislation. And I think there's a lot of spaces where local food systems can plug into that system where they're not currently now. So I definitely think there is room to connect food as medicine into this coalition and into really making sure that we are getting the healthiest food into our institutions.
Thank you, Laura. Rachel, I know that was your question, and you have your hand raised as well. Is that a satisfactory answer to your question, or do you have an additional question?
No.
Okay, you're all set. And I see also Barbara Ernie, your hand is raised. Do you have a question?
Oh, I had a comment. There are several groups working on food as medicine, or just as, you know, educating patients in community clinics and in medical institutions on, you know, eating healthier food. And there are research projects going on with food boxes being delivered to outpatient community clinics to give to people, and they're actually studying their blood pressure and blood sugars and seeing, you know, a positive outcome from supplying healthful plant forward food to their patients. So I think there's a lot of angles on the food as medicine, and there are a lot of partners that we could bring in that are already working on this, because rather than thinking of some particular herb to cure some disease, I mean, every time you put food in your body, you're creating a medical condition, either a healthy one or a bad one. So I think we have a lot of angles on that. And I just wanted to get a little more input. I wish Dr. Reshma Shah were here, but on the meat situation, I'm a little, I don't know enough about it, but you know, as far as raising meat in a sustainable pasture fed way, it's a very elitist kind of thing because it costs more, and it's impossible to feed the world an omnivore diet with pasture raised meat. There is not enough land on the earth to raise meat sustainably to feed everyone who demands meat. So I think that's really a question I'd like some deeper dive into on, you know, where we're going with that. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I just want to make sure I reached everybody who has their hand raised. So let's table that discussion until I've had a chance to ask. Fernando, could you unmute and feel free to ask your question?
Yes, thank you. Well, Well, my name is Fernando. I work in La Mesa Verde. It's a urban gardening program and also food justice program at Sacred Heart Community Service in San Jose. And for us, it's really important that our community or members of this program, we have 140 gardeners, urban gardeners, are involved in this space. So my question is, if I want to participate in one committee has a program, can I bring my members to talk and to participate in this space? Because for us, it's not just we has a staff of program representing the community. For us, is we develop leaders in the community so they can advocate for themselves.
Thank you.
And that sounds great, Fernando. I'm really excited that you're doing that work, and I definitely would love for more than just you, but other folks you're working with to be involved in this process. And in terms of bringing up leaders and raising people up, we're also thinking of bringing volunteers and other folks on to kind of help us out in other ways. So definitely don't feel limited in who you can bring on. Just reach out to us and we'll talk about what makes sense.
Did I miss anyone who had their hand raised? I'm not seeing any more raised hands. It looks like in the chat, many people are talking about food as medicine. Many groups are being mentioned: Berkeley Food Network, Spur, Essential Food and Medicine, Samaritan House. Many groups are involved in this. Soil Not Oil. So thank you for continuing to contribute in the chat all your ideas. Nicole or JJ, what do you suggest we do at this point?
Just on that point, I also wanted to give a shout out to the folks in Oakland who I think are on the call from All In Eats, who are working on food as medicine and making really amazing connections. So, we're excited to have them joining us as well. I think next steps are that we're actually a little ahead of schedule, which is great. So if there aren't more questions, what we thought we might do is go into breakout rooms if people want to start talking about the committee work, inviting people to network a little bit, to connect with each other, and to learn more about the committees. So if there is interest in that, we would love to set that up and start some breakout rooms. But we can give a couple more minutes in case any other lingering questions are out there.
Oh, and I did see there was a comment from Councilmember Sophie about the importance of including city managers, city clerks, that kind of administrative linchpins of the offices, because that's where a lot of this policy work happens. And so bringing these individuals, such as city managers, into the process is very important. Anyone feel that they would like to comment on that?
Yeah, that's definitely true. And we have actually been doing some research for the past year on what policies the cities have been implementing thus far, and have a list of primary contacts. Can't say for every city, but for a lot of the cities and counties here in the Bay Area.
Another question coming in from Rachel. Are there founding principles, or is that part of the work? I know you outlined the vision, Nicole, so I don't know if you want to speak to this question of what are the founding principles?
Yeah, we do have the founding principles, most of which we shared with you. We have those, I think, outlined a little bit more. And so anybody joining the committee or joining a committee or joining the coalition will get access to all of what we've been working on so far. We can share that. We have a mission statement. We're starting to work on a website. So all that information will be shared, and we will also be excited to share all of your names and logos on this website as part of the coalition, and building this together and getting your input as well. So nothing is set in stone. It's all very much a beginning. we've put some roots down, and now we want to grow this together.
Great. I see that Barb has also added a wonderful document into the chat. So I would encourage everybody to keep forwarding resources like this that you have at your disposal that others might benefit from. And we will also try to collect everything that we receive in the chat and send it back out to everyone so that you don't have to be agonizing over the Zoom chat. All right, and we have some affirmations from Mark at Post saying he's really excited about this and so grateful for us doing this. So thanks for chiming in, Mark. Any other questions coming up? New question from Audria. What is the process for engagement with organizations that may not have the capacity to participate in the committees? Are you able to answer that one, Nicole?
Sorry, can you repeat that? I'm
sure.
doing dual duty of typing in the chat and I missed what you said.
No problem. What about organizations that don't have capacity to participate in the committees at that level? How do they engage in this process?
Yeah, so we welcome just supporters. If you want to just sign on, you appreciate what we're doing, you're supportive of what we're doing, we will add your name and logo into the mix. And we will, invite you to the summit to be a part however you can. We recognize that not everyone has the capacity to join a committee and be super engaged, but we hope that those who can will.
Great. And we have some folks asking whether the presentation, the slides can be shared, a file can be shared in the chat, and if not in the chat, certainly afterwards. So just putting that out there.
Yeah, we're recording this. We will share, the links that we're sharing. We'll share the chat transcript, the recording. We can share the slides. It's all going to come at you. Just be patient with us while we gather all of that post-event, and we'll send it to you as soon as we can. And we'll also send you the form to sign up again, so that you have that and can sign up. And the next steps, after we receive all the signups, is that we'll be reaching out to probably do some doodle polls, figure out a good meeting time for each of the committees, and getting that kicked off within the next week or two.
I might ask Holly if you can unmute and ask your question, because I'm not sure that I quite understand whether you're talking about something separate from this initiative or as part of this initiative.
Well, I'm not sure. I have done a lot of local policy work, and I am interested in continuing that, and this is one of my areas of interest. So I'm wondering if there's a way that I understand that the goal of this is to get local governments to come and to learn more and to sign on so that you can meet these goals for 2030. So I would be interested in connecting around the policy part of it. And I don't know if that connects with this particular summit or just more generally in terms of the work you're doing.
So are you working on passing particular ordinances or policies within cities, or kind of?
I have been.
Okay. Then yeah. Definitely.
I have been involved in the local soda tax efforts in the East Bay, and then most recently passed the first healthy checkout ordinance a year ago. I've also done a lot of tobacco policy, but that's kind of separate. So there's been a lot of different important policies that have been mentioned And I would just, that's an area of expertise and interest that I have. So I just trying to figure out how to connect.
Yeah, we definitely would love you on board. The outreach committee is a great spot for you. And just to talk about how you can help us, basically, we are still trying to gather up more policy ideas. So policy ideas that line up with our principles and our vision are definitely fair game. As I said in my piece, the Good Food Person Pledge a program has been doing great work in the area. So we're trying to bringing their work into the process of other great bills or great programs out there. We think we should be spreading around the Bay Area. Then we're going to try to talk to more cities about those bills or about those programs as a part of our outreach before the summit, and then after the summit or the declaration committee, kind of figuring out how to keep these folks, how to hold these folks accountable for their commitments.
JJ, could I add something?
Absolutely.
Okay, thanks. Just, hey, we would Holly, we very much welcome your expertise. That is what my committee will be doing, and is outreach to local governments. And if you have experience doing that, that's ever so helpful. And it will also help us to reach out to folks in their respective cities who haven't had these types of experience. So I think JJ mentioned that we are not looking to sort of, forgive the pun here, but to shove anything down our electeds' throats, but more to see what might work in their respective cities. So that would be super helpful. And I think you also asked about the summit. And the summit's going to be, well, we're not sure exactly what it's going to be, but the idea is really to generate some interest and some community and to do some planning as a big group. Okay, so it would be wonderful if you could attend that as well. Did I get that right, JJ?
Yep. Agree with what everything you said.
One more question. If you are not able to participate on a specific committee, but you want to submit some ideas or suggestions to those people, what's the best way to do that?
I think just reach out to any of us. We've shared our email in the outreach to you. So feel free to reach out to me directly, to JJ, to anyone else that you may know on the steering committee as well. But I know you have our information. So just reach out and we'll talk through it.
Yeah, and we are also working on a website that will be ready soon, which will have all of the relevant information for contacting folks on the committee, I think, as well.